First, we need to talk about Vril. Vril comes from the 1871 book The Coming Race. In the story, there's a race of underground beings called the Vrilia, who control a mystical energy called Vril, kind of like the Force from Star Wars. Now let's move on to Agartha, and how it got wrapped up in Nazi conspiracy theories. Agartha and Vril became connected because of a strange group within the Nazi movement known as the Mystic Nazis. They believed in the spiritual and occult. They thought that combining Vril and Agartha made the Nazis seem more powerful, more advanced, and even superhuman. Now there's another version of Agartha, the one from the East. Eastern Agartha, originally called Shambhala, is said to be ruled by two great masters who guide humanity toward peace and balance. To reach Eastern Agartha, a person must live a life of harmony, wisdom, and compassion. In short, Eastern Agartha is about peace, enlightenment, and unity. It has nothing to do with race or technology. But Western Agartha is very different. It grew out of Nazi mysticism and Western occultism, and focuses on power, technology, and domination. In this version, there are beings called the Aryans, tall, blonde, blue-eyed figures believed to be the so-called master race. To enter Western Agartha, one had to be considered racially pure. The mystic Nazis saw themselves as the heirs to this mythical Aryan kingdom. Now we can talk about how Vril and Agartha got mashed together. The mystic Nazis believed the book where Vril came from, The Coming Race, was real history, not fiction. Because of their spiritual and racial beliefs, they thought the Aryans were ancient beings who controlled the power of Vril. To them, this explained why they saw the Aryan race as superior. They believed Aryans had a divine energy that others didn't. They combined this with the myth of Agartha, imagining it as the secret underground world where these ancient Aryans lived, protecting their advanced knowledge and Vril technology. In their version, Agartha wasn't a peaceful paradise like in the Eastern myths. It was a hidden civilization full of superhuman Aryans waiting to return and lead the world. How the Nazis used these myths for power and propaganda. The Nazis didn't just believe in these myths for fun, they used them to build a sense of destiny and superiority. The idea that the Aryans had access to Vril energy and came from a hidden world like Agartha made them seem chosen, powerful, and destined to rule. It gave their racist ideology a mystical, almost religious backing. Groups like the supposed Vril Society and Thule Society became symbols of secret knowledge and ancient power. While there's no proof that these groups ever had real psychic technology or access to Vril energy, the myth helped the Nazi mystics justify their obsession with race purity and their search for sacred places like Tibet, Antarctica, and the Himalayas, where they thought traces of Agartha could be found. In short, these stories made the Nazis' racism sound cosmic and spiritual instead of just hateful. It turned their politics into mythology, and that's one reason why these ideas still appear in modern conspiracy theories today. Why these myths still matter today. Even though the ideas of Vril and Agartha came from old books and Nazi mysticism, they still matter because they show how easily fiction can turn into dangerous belief. What started as a science fiction story became twisted into a justification for racism, superiority, and hate. Today, you'll still see people online talking about Vril, Agartha, or ancient civilizations, with secret powers sometimes mixed with conspiracy theories about governments, aliens, or secret elites. Most of these modern versions don't realize how deeply these ideas were once tied to Nazi propaganda and racial ideology. Understanding where these myths came from helps us separate imagination from hate. It reminds us that stories can inspire, but they can also be distorted to spread fear and division. So in the end, Vril and Agartha aren't just weird myths or old conspiracy theories, they're examples of how people can twist fantasy into something dangerous. What started as fiction turned into fuel for one of history's darkest ideologies. The next time you see someone online talking about hidden civilizations or secret energies, remember to ask where those ideas come from, because sometimes the strangest stories have the darkest roots. If you liked this breakdown, make sure to leave a comment and let me know what myth or conspiracy I should cover next.